All right, let's jump right in. We're about to explore this really powerful idea called revolutionary love. But first, I need you to do something for me. Just for a moment, set aside everything you think the word love means. We are not talking about a feeling or some fluffy sentiment or something you just happen to fall into. Nope. What we're talking about is a practical, demanding, and ultimately life-giving framework for how we can actually create change in a world that, let's be honest, desperately needs it. This quote from activist and author Valarie Kaur, wow, it just gets right to the heart of it. Love as sweet labor. It's not passive, right? It's an action. It's not always pretty. It can be fierce and bloody. But, and this is the key part, it's generative. It brings new things into the world. This is not the love you see on greeting cards. This is the kind of love that builds entire movements.
So here it is, our working definition. Think of it as an orientation, like a compass for how you point yourself in the world. And notice those three really distinct directions for our labor, for others, for our opponents, and for ourselves. The goal isn't just a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's the very real pursuit of justice. It's a choice, it's a discipline, and it's a practice that anyone can learn.
But before we get into the how, we really need to understand the why. I mean, what's the problem that a concept like revolutionary love is even trying to solve in the first place? This source material uses this incredible metaphor. Think about it. We're all encouraged, pretty much from day one, to focus on our own growth, our own success, our me. We're all trying to be the most impressive apple tree in the orchard. But here's the thing. An apple tree can't grow in a vacuum. If the soil is dead, if there's no water, if the whole ecosystem around it is collapsing, it doesn't matter one bit how great your potential is. Your personal success is completely 100% inseparable from the health of the world around you. So if we're going to start tending to that metaphorical soil, how do we actually do it? Where do we even begin? Well, that's where this framework becomes this amazing practical tool. It's called the Revolutionary Love Compass, and it guides our work in three absolutely essential directions. Okay, so the first direction is outward, toward others. It all starts with wonder, this genuine curiosity that lets you look at anyone, even a total stranger, and think to yourself, you are a part of me I do not yet know. This simple practice, this shift in perspective, allows us to truly grieve with people, to feel their pain instead of just watching it from a distance. And that feeling, that deep connection, it leads directly to action, to fight, to stand up and protect those who are in harm's way. Wonder, grieve, fight. It's a powerful sequence. Now, here comes maybe the hardest part of all, pointing that compass toward our opponents. This is not, and I repeat, not about excusing harm. The very first step, as you can see, is to rage, to acknowledge our anger as a totally valid and healthy response to injustice, but to process it so it becomes fuel, not just a wildfire that burns us up. Then, step 2 is to listen, and this is so crucial. We're not listening to agree with them. We're listening to understand the wound or the fear that might be driving their actions. And when that happens, when we listen past all the noise, we can stop seeing monsters and start seeing the broken systems that create so much conflict. And that opens up the final step to reimagine a world where those systems are healed.
You know, tending to all the wounds out there in the world is completely impossible if we don't also tend to ourselves. And that brings us to the third, absolutely critical direction, loving ourselves. This kind of work is a marathon, not a sprint. So first, we have to breathe. We have to practice rest to prevent burnout. Second, we have to know when to push ourselves, to lean into that discomfort where the real growth happens. And finally, and this one is so important, we have to cultivate joy. Joy isn't some frivolous distraction from the work. It's the revolutionary fuel that allows us to stay in it for the long haul.
And this quote just brilliantly ties it all together. It shows why all three of these directions are completely non-negotiable. Any one of them on its own just doesn't work. Loving only ourselves? That's just escapism. Only our opponents? Well, that's self-loathing. Only others? That's a fast track to burnout and total ineffectiveness. It's putting all three together that makes this practice truly revolutionary. Okay. This framework sounds beautiful in theory, right? But let's be real for a second. In a world that feels this broken, this polarized, how can a practice like this actually heal anything? How does it scale up from just a personal belief to real systemic change? Well, to answer that, we're going to turn to a surprisingly powerful, maybe even a little strange, metaphor for social transformation. Yes, compost. You heard me right. And I know that sounds weird, but just stay with me here, because this is actually brilliant. The process of creating rich, fertile soil out of what we normally consider garbage is one of the best models we have for healing our social and political wounds.
Just look at these parallels. They're fascinating. Compost literally transforms biological waste into something new. Revolutionary love tends to our social wounds, the conflicts, the harm. A good compost pile needs a bunch of different ingredients. Revolutionary love requires us to see no stranger, to value that diversity. And that decomposition process, it generates intense heat. And this work, it requires what are called brave spaces of friction and transformation. The end result is exactly the same. Compost creates fertile soil for new life, and revolutionary love builds systemic trust, the social soil from which new, healthier systems can finally grow.
So let's dig into that idea of brave spaces for a second, because this distinction is crucial. A safe space often prioritizes comfort, which can mean we end up avoiding conflict at all costs. But a brave space has a totally different goal: transformation. It understands that discomfort, and even conflict, as long as it's held with respect, is a necessary part of learning and healing. It's the heat in the compost pile. Without it, nothing really breaks down, and nothing new can grow. And a key ingredient in all this social composting is a really mature understanding of what forgiveness is. This isn't about forgetting that harm happened or just letting people off the hook. It's an internal process of freeing yourself from the consuming, draining power of hate so that you have the energy to build something new. It's really about letting go of the poison so you can get back to tending to the soil. So let's zoom out now for the final piece of this puzzle. Where does all of this work lead? Well, the ultimate goal is a fundamental shift in how we see everything. Remember that lonely apple tree from the beginning, trying to succeed all on its own? Now we can see the answer. The entire practice of revolutionary love, seeing no stranger, tending to wounds, loving ourselves, is the hard, gritty work of creating that rich, life-giving soil. It moves us away from just focusing on our individual tree and toward cultivating a whole, thriving, interconnected forest. And what's absolutely incredible is that this isn't just a nice metaphor, it's a biological reality. The work of scientists like Suzanne Simard has revealed what's called the wood wide web, these vast underground fungal networks that connect trees, allowing them to share resources, warn each other of danger, and even nurture the young saplings. A forest is not a collection of competing individuals, it is a cooperative community. It's like our ethics are finally catching up to ecology. What the forest has always known, we are just now beginning to learn. So here's the bottom line. Revolutionary love isn't just a personal practice. It's the social glue that resilient communities need to thrive. It creates the kind of trust that allows neighbors to actually help each other in a crisis. It helps us build a bridge to get from just thinking about me and my success to thinking about we and our collective well-being. And maybe most importantly, it extends our circle of care to include future generations, the ultimate strangers that we are called to love. So we end up right back where we started, but with a whole new understanding. Your life, your work, your dreams, none of it grows in a vacuum. It all depends on the health of the world around you. And that brings us to the final, essential question this whole framework asks every single one of us. What soil are you helping to create?
While global systems wobble, our job is to build a stable attractor, a functional, localized unit of community resilience created from the inside of the disruption. To help you navigate this, we have designed a 5-day intensive course. It is a practical survival guide for decoupling your life from the matrix of infinite growth. You will learn how to establish a local council of the commons and master the mechanics of biophilic stewardship, ensuring your land can feed your community indefinitely. You can remain tied to the illusion of a collapsing global credit card, or take this course to begin building real systems health today. The Earth is tired of the lie. It is time to dance with the truth.